Hey everybody, welcome back to Backlog Banter. I'm your boy Abram, joined as usual by Tucker Hazel, but we're also joined today by Tanner Dykstra because we are here to talk about our first impressions of Resident Evil 8 Village. Before we do, I want to remind you the link to our Discord, as usual, top of the description, along with that subscription button, the like button, it's all there. Click it, join us, become part of the BLB cult, if you
Yes.
will.
Yeah.
Oh,
But I want
who's
to
the?
be,
I was gonna say, who's the Lady Drimiskew of BOB?
Tanner, I think that would have to be you.
I think
Oh,
so.
I have the biggest
Or
badonk donk,
actually,
so
although considering I'm the only one that has like a different physical appearance because my hair is different from the three of you,
oh
you
That's
have
fair.
yeah,
the three of you have to be my daughters, unfortunately.
yeah. There we go.
That's fair. Now, before we went on that very important tangent, what I wanted to do was begin our discussion actually with one Mr. Tanner Dykstra because he, unlike the two of us fuckers, didn't play Resident Evil 7. You actually just finished RE7 yesterday, so I'm
I've
curious what your thoughts are on this game going directly from that.
Okay. Well, the interesting part of this is I've finished Resident Evil 7, yes, on the day that 8 came out. And also I've played the least of Resident Evil 8 between the three
Okay.
of us.
Mm.
But so far it seems like a pretty good continuation and upgrade from that. I mean, obviously you have the incredibly charismatic lead of Ethan something last name,
Winters. Yeah.
Winter.
Ethan Winters. The continuation from like the end of 7 to the beginning of 8 with the family is really good. Even the mechanics, the shooting feels a lot tighter in this one from the little bit that I've done. It does. I up the difficulty in this game as opposed to 7, so the difficulty from that standpoint feels like a logical upgrade. And just like the mood and the feel is different enough that I feel like it differentiates itself while also feeling like a solid upgrade from 7. Because 7, from what I understand, was sort of a rebrand for the Resident Evil franchise.
Yeah.
Yes. Tucker?
I didn't play seven as you
Right.
just mentioned, so I was going to, and then I was got new Pokemon Snap took out all my energy for last week, gaming wise. So I just decided just to hop into Village completely unfettered with I don't know if I'm using that correctly, but
Sure.
we did play Resident Evil 4 Card in the Corner earlier this year, and I also played Resident Evil 2 Remake last year, so I'm familiar with the formula, and I think this game is really good. I think that the village that you go into at the beginning and the opening sort of series of things that you go through with the house and escaping the truck and all of that, uh it's fine, but when you hit the castle is really when it gets interesting in my opinion, and I which means that I'm enjoying the game a lot more as it's going, and of course these are early impressions, but I'm happy with it.
Yeah, so I've heard a lot of complaints online about that opening hour. I personally didn't have any issue with it. I've been really enjoying my time all the way through. I liked Resident Evil 4 quite a bit, but that's basically my main touchstone for Resident Evil outside of playing, some 2 remake. But really getting into Village, I think this game is exceptional. I think that by pretty much every metric, I'm really enjoying it. Playing on PS5, of course, the game is gorgeous.
Yeah.
It's got great sound design, great atmosphere. But I think what really works for me here is the blending but of Resident Evil 4's camp and its aesthetic with a more hardcore horror element to it. I think
Sure.
it strikes a really interesting and fun tone that is undercut by my one main complaint of the game so far, which
Okay.
is that I fucking hate Ethan Winters and I wish that literally anyone else was the protagonist of this game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's very generic. Like all the responses that he has as people, it's like, oh,
He's
he's a well-intentioned white guy who's gonna come in and save the day.
Is that a dead body? Oh, there's more. Ethan, you literally fought a zombified family, and spoilers for the end of Resident Evil 7, a giant tendril monster little girl that breaks apart a house, and you have to shoot at it with a grenade launcher in a vaccine fucking like an E-virus gun. Like, you shouldn't be surprised if you're like, oh my god, zombies?
A
Dead
dead body.
bodies?
Oh
What's
no.
going on here?
Yeah, it's just he's so flat. I mean,
Yeah.
he's like give me campy piss boy Leon Kennedy over this any day, in my opinion.
Leon Kennedy is a little piss boy, and I actually like piss boy Leon Kennedy from 2 remake more so than edgy Leon Kennedy from 4. But both of them are superior to
Yeah.
annoying Ethan Winters, because I do think that his voice actor is fine, but he just sounds like the most default possible main character protagonist heroic guy that you can get. And he he has two states of being. He's either like whining and shocked about something that's happening, or he's just he's moaning and groaning because he gets sliced and cut and stabbed, and a good man, he's a punching bag for all sorts of crazy shit.
He always has been. Since in 7, you're getting thrown through walls, you're getting sliced up and stabbed. I feel bad for his left hand, which I feel like is kind of a running joke in this series now, because obviously in 7 you get it stabbed with a screwdriver and then cut off with a chainsaw, I think.
Yeah.
And then and then he staples it back together, and it's stapled together for the rest of the game. And in this, he's like, "All right, we're back in the saddle. Nothing.
Got a clean hand, nothing.
My left hand's all good to go." And then the 3 fingers get bit off by a zombie, or lichen, I guess, as they're called in this.
Yeah. It gets worse also. Have you gotten, so for the record, I have just done, I think it's called like the Room of Ablutions puzzle, and you go down into like these caverns, but I beat the first mini boss, and I'm looking for Lady Demetriscu's, I think, her area. That's what I'm doing. I'm about 90 minutes into the game.
Maybe like Dimitrescu or something like that.
It's Demetrice.
Demetriscu.
No, the U is silent.
Demetrice.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
He literally says her name.
Oh, okay.
So,
well, if we're going around how far we've gotten, I've only gotten to the point where it really opens up for the first time after that scripted loss kind of thing with all the lichens and including the big guy with the giant hammer.
Okay, so you're really early.
I'm the first hour essentially.
Did you get to the house with the people yet?
No, that is literally my next destination when I pick up the game again.
All right. That's an okay sequence. I think here's the thing is, and we were talking about this at the beginning, the first hour and a half feeling different from the other part. And it's not that it's bad. It's just scripted video game fare that you're going in and you're hitting the points, and there's not a lot of flexibility in how you're approaching combat or exploration. And there's, I mean, I don't really feel like the locations are super memorable. It's kind of just this dilapidated village. But at least when I hit the castle, I was like, okay, this really feels like there's something to this. And I think that the visual design of the castle is so much better than the village.
So, I'm not sure I necessarily agree. For me, I think that the castle is very cool so far, but it's nothing we haven't seen in Resident Evil 1 or Resident Evil 4. A complaint I saw of the game from critical reviews is that it kind of feels like a greatest hits of things that have worked in past Resident Evil games, kind of stitched together in a new configuration. And I understand that. I think what's so impressive to me is the visual fidelity and the polish that everything has, because I think that every facet of gameplay just feels more natural here and more engaging. I think combat feels great. I was not a huge fan of combat in 4. I thought it was okay. I think here it hits a better balance between horror and action, even though you get a fuck ton of ammo early on in the game when you get to the castle. I just think everything feels really fine-tuned.
Yeah.
I want to, if I can make a quick aside, we sort of skipped over the beginning cinematic where you settled down with his family. That baby, by the way, if we're talking about how great this game looks, you guys take a good look at that baby. Good lord,
what a round fucking baby! Let me say it.
I'm not even talking about the rotundness of it. I'm talking the detail. That is the best looking video game baby I've ever seen. That baby looks better than some real life babies. Let me tell you that. All right. And also, obviously, and we've gotten into stuff, but spoilers, because your wife, Mia, just gets riddled with bullets, and that was a great hook into the game for me.
Yeah.
And then giant top heavy Chris Redfield comes in your door. He's got the giant trench coat on, and his pectorals and biceps are roughly 2 times as wide as his legs, and it's just the greatest character design I've ever seen.
Yeah, but I mean that's a fun sequence, and it's definitely something that not fun, but it's an interesting sequence to start off a game. His daughter being kidnapped, that's something we've seen in other games before. That's not anything completely new, but I mean it's a it's a starting thing. It's a catalyst for
Mhm.
something to happen. So it's not nothing to whine about. But I thought what you were going to talk about was the actual opening of the game, which is the storybook, which
Oh yeah, that's great.
we have yet to talk about, and we've also yet to, within the context of the game, find out what that actually means
Mhm.
in relation to the characters. But that was really cool animation. It flowed into the fact that they're reading the book to their kid. I really enjoyed that. It's just some unique way to start a
Mhm.
game.
I thought it was fine. I thought it felt like a non sequitur. I'm sure it'll have more
Sure.
meaning as we get into it. But what I liked about it is it kind of underscores the fact that this game is confidently weird.
Mhm.
Um, I watched that little like, hey, here's the recap of what happened in
Oh
Biohazard
yeah.
video, which was more scary than anything I've actually seen in Village. That game still unlocks like a very particular like rural Maine fear of mine of
Mm.
fucking running into people like that. So that thing still scared me more than Village itself. I think Village is a serviceably creepy game, and there's some pretty
Mm.
gory moments when you get actually into the castle. And again, Ethan's body just has no tie to reality, and you're getting like, you'll see. I don't want
Okay.
to spoil it for you, but
Yeah.
I don't think the game. Yes, I don't think the
Uh,
game is scary as much as it is just really tense, and I think
Mm.
it accomplishes tension really well with some really disorienting sound design, especially when you get into combat, and it's really good.
I think
Sure.
I'm probably gonna when I get done with this, I'll go play a little bit more of it. I took a little break, but I'm probably gonna try playing with headphones on because I almost never play with headphones on. But the sound design being such an important part of horror, important part of the design of this game, because there's not a lot of music, in fact, almost none. But which is fine. That's how the game is designed. But uh, yeah, I can't remember what I was gonna say.
Oh, okay.
Well, there we go.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I've had some. I don't want to get too much into the Resident Evil 7 talk, but I talked to you guys privately about like how I felt about like the really scary elements of that game versus what it sort of becomes in like the majority of it. But seven seems like to me to be going for a more
8.
sorry, eight. It's
Yeah.
more steady, consistent. Like it's scary. There's some jump scares with the lichens at the beginning, but it is the campiness that you guys were talking about more than like it feels like a horror movie that could come out where you're running from a zombie rural family. You're running from a big sexy vampire lady and
Yeah.
giant zombies with hammers who ride horses and shoot flaming arrows.
And I think that quirkiness and wackiness of the characters designs for anyone that's not Ethan, I think is great. When you hit the castle, this is spoilers, but you're going to see it in 30 minutes or whatever. Is there's like a whole host of really weird monsterish characters that are like interacting with one
Oh,
another,
cool. That's cool.
and like they have really crazy designs, like super memorable designs. And I'm excited to see how they play into the story. I'm sure inevitably they'll all be boss fights. But you've got the really big guy with the hammer. You've got the guy who's basically Magneto.
What? Hold on.
Yeah. Whose name is Heisenberg.
Yes.
Yeah.
Heisenberg.
Yes.
I am the one who knocks.
But I'm excited to see how these really unique and iconic character designs grow throughout the game.
Well, see, that's what I was gonna bring this up as well. Since we were talking about the storybook thing, you brought up that those will be boss fights. I figured it would be like
not different characters. Not
no. That's what I'm getting to. My point here, Tucker. Don't step on me. I want Lady Dremistu to step on me. What I was gonna say was I thought it was like a Dark Souls type of thing where those storybook characters that we see, the big fish and the horse and stuff, those are going to be the bosses in the video game. That's my assumption, at least.
I mean, I'm sure that it has to have some kind of real world element to it. I wouldn't even be surprised if, like your wife comes back somehow.
Yeah,
totally.
I think there's clearly some kind of element here that that some kind of extra supernatural element, as though we need another one on top. But I think it's really gonna come around in an interesting way. And speaking of interesting characters, Tucker, I'm a big fan of the Duke, who is essentially the merchant from Resident Evil 4, but actually interesting to look at. He doesn't have the same dialogue, the iconic dialogue of 4, but he's just big fucking fat like Willy Wonka type of guy. He's like Beetle if he's like Beetle on My 600-Pound Life, which is a really specific reference, but it just speaks to the fact that Capcom is really cutting loose with this game, which is what makes it really compelling to me.
Yeah.
Also, if I may pivot a little bit,
Please.
Pivot away.
I'm very glad that this game is about 9 hours long. Tucker and I were just having a conversation recently about new Pokemon Snap in our review
Very
card in the
recently,
corner.
like 6 hours ago.
Very recently, that game was too long, and I feel like Resident Evil Village is setting itself up for just the right length experience because there's already such a nice pace and momentum here.
Yeah.
That if we can maintain this over a relatively short runtime, I think the game's going to be exemplary. Because I'm 90 minutes in, and I'm farther than even Tucker is in 90 minutes, and I'm not really rushing. I'm just kind of plodding ahead, So I think that if this momentum can keep up, I'm really going to enjoy this game, and it might be my favorite Resident Evil. Of course, I've not played a ton of Resident Evil games, but
yeah,
but you did really enjoy 4, so that's saying something.
The final important question: what difficulty are you guys playing on? I'm on casual, the middle one.
No,
or
that's
normal.
not the middle one. Normal.
What's the normal? I'm on normal. And the boy, oh boy, let me tell you, that first Lycan that you like get the gun, you have to shoot out, he was just soaking up bullets in that sequence for me. And I was watching Tucker play it because Tucker, you're playing on easy, correct?
Yeah, casual.
And I was like, all right, Tucker, this sequence is kind of tough. He soaks up these bullets, and Tucker like shot him 3 times in the head with like auto aim on. It seemed like, and it was like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm playing on standard, and I think the combat is finding a nice balance between that bullet spongy nature and still feeling satisfying to kill the enemies. There's a tension to everyone you come across because I'm not playing with Tucker's magnet auto aim or whatever it is, but I'm hitting headshots pretty consistently because everyone's really fucking slow. But even still, you have to be so economical, and there's this great tension between shooting to stun, running in, slashing with a knife, trying to get back, and everything. I haven't figured out the blocking yet. That's the one thing sticking point for me.
That was a mechanic in 7 that I never used because I would never let an enemy get that close to me.
Yeah.
Right. Well, you got to use a knife. You got to save ammo. In 4, I was notorious for saving literally all of my ammo. I'm very careful.
Even when it wasn't necessary, because 4 gives you a lot of ammo.
Well, I also played 7 on easy. I took the easy route like Tucker did for this one, and that might have given me more ammo to work with in the game as well.
I would like to note, one of the criticism that I do have of this game is it has a crafting system.
Ah, yes.
Which is frustrating to me. As I have gotten older and reached the age of 20, I've come to recognize something about myself as I've begun to think introspectively about my life. I don't like RPG mechanics. I don't like crafting mechanics, especially when they feel completely superfluous. I think that in a game that's so arcadey and so distinctly video gamey like this, having these crafting elements just feels completely unnecessary.
Yeah, the crafting system carries over from 7, and it was also it seemed very useless for most of it. The only thing I ever crafted was first aid, was the health juice, first aid water that he dumps on his hand. That's the only thing I ever used it for. I didn't craft the psycho stimulants to help you find collectibles. I didn't craft the steroids to give you a health boost. I just used first aid stuff. That's it.
Yeah. And honestly, I think that's probably something that we're not using to its full potential because we're not on the hardest difficulty. I think that's something that becomes a lot more important the more that you have to really manage what you have, because the crafting elements that you use to combine to make things don't take up space in your inventory. So they're interesting in that regard. It'll be interesting to see what you unlock that you're able to upgrade and if those will become useful later on in the game. But as of now, and thinking back to how much I enjoyed the inventory system in 2 Remake, it does feel a little bit strange that there's this secondary menu. It's really a Last of Us style crafting system. And I vastly preferred the combination system from 4 and 2 Remake. So it's interesting that they went this way. I think it'll probably become pretty backgrounded and normalized throughout the game. I don't think it'll be an issue when we're meatily through the game, but it's definitely something to comment on.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you guys did, but from the Duke you can buy more crafting recipes. So I bought one for shotgun shells because you got to get the shotgun.
You can craft shotgun shells. You couldn't do that in 7. Thank God finally, because shotgun was the best weapon, the best just
Yeah.
all around weapon.
And as per usual with PS5 games, I love that little adaptive trigger pull when you're pulling down that shotgun. I'm a big
Oh,
fan
yeah.
of that.
Yeah.
That nice little resistance. I don't
Mhm.
think the game does quite enough of the dual sense yet, but of course I'm so early in that I don't
Yeah.
know exactly how it will. But I'm a little bit spoiled by Returnal, and the game just uses the controller so well. But again, this is multi-plat, so
Yeah.
less of an expectation there. But
Sure.
All right. Any
anything else you
final
wanna
points?
add?
Yeah.
I'm not as far in as I'd like to be, but I am excited to get back into it, especially since I'm wrapping up school today, boys, and it's time to meet that big, sexy vampire lady. Oh,
Yeah.
mamacita.
We did get to meet her, and it's not like because she's been hyped up. It's not like a moment really where you meet her. She's kind of just
Okay.
there, but
Oh.
but it, she's there. It's not. I'm yet to see. She hasn't chased us yet, which I
Oh,
think is
wow.
really where
That will be the pivotal moment of the game.
exactly.
That'll be
You'll
that's
turn
what
around and
separates-
embrace it.
Yeah, that's what separates the boys from the men right there.
But yeah, I'm just interested to see how this goes on because one of my comments about the past Resident Evil games that I have played is that they feel a little bit weirdly paced because there's such different sections that you go through, and I think from sort of the sleuthing I've been able to do from reading logs and things around the mansion that I'm exploring, there's going to be different sections, and I'm wondering how they're going to compare to one another, if they're going to feel paced out properly. But we'll have to wait and see. These are our very early impressions.
Yeah, and we'll be back with a full review, hopefully in about a week's time. I think that sounds reasonable to cruise through this one. Again, I'm really enjoying it. I think that it's got a great tone. It's striking a nice momentum for me so far. It's pushed me forward. It's been pretty intuitive solving the light puzzles I have been.
Very
Haven't
light
been any
puzzles.
very light puzzles. You get it to a couple more later on, a little bit further than where you are, Tucker. But it's a great game. Capcom on an absolute killing spree this year so far. Between
Like Resident Evil when you kill things.
What? Well, on that note, I think we're going to end the conversation here. Thank you for watching, everyone. Thank you too for joining me. And I'm gonna go play more Resident Evil.
Yeah.
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 We gotta flex this goddamn vaccine card on stream. I'm gonna put it in the spokes of my bike like a baseball card from the
baseball card?
1950s.
All right.
Okay.
Who's doing the intro?
I put
No
my
one
Not
dick
me.
in the bicycle.
All right, I'll do the intro. Tucker,
Go
I
on.
didn't hear whatever you said about putting your dick wherever you're going to put it.
You didn't? Would you like to hear it?
I would before we begin. I think it'd really
Oh, I
start me on
did.
the right foot.
Did you see my underpants? No, Patrick. Did you want to? No, Patrick.
I was just saying that I put my dick in a bicycle wheel, like a.
Oh, and then it goes.
Get it.
Glad that we did that bit.